I'm Sarah Watley and I'm head girl for Alex Brown. My favourite Car Day Master product is medicated shampoo. We use it every day after horses are worked. Helps get all the grease and grime out of the coat and any little scabs.
Welcome back to the F Ratings Eventing podcast and a Connolly's Red Mill special for you listeners, because this weekend we have got an absolute monster of an international competition in Ireland. This is the Lisgarvan preview show, and joining me is a man who is very, very local to Lisgarvan, Sam Watson. We're hoping you're going to give us the inside intel.
I am on the birth of this new international venue in the sport. Ireland has got a new 4-star venue. That's exciting. You know, it's been a while. I think even when we've lost Campfire, we've lost Tattersalls in recent years. This will come and replace the autumn Mill Street. But you know, it's important for Ireland to have enough international venues. This is only our fourth. Ballindennis run 2, Kililkey run 2, Mill Street still very much the highlight and flagship event of the spring calendar. But Lisgarvan comes in here now into the autumn, the busy autumn schedule, and here we go, folks. It's a brand new international venue in Carlow, my hometown. It'll
save on the diesel bill for the lorry as well, Sam.
I know, and I haven't entered a long. It's a funny time of year for the long. You know, I think on the preview we'll probably focus with that feature, Connolly's Red Mill 4-star short. What's great is, look, post-Brexit blues, post-COVID depression, everything feels like it's back up and running again. Ireland has hosted quite a lot of international flags over the last few months, and many of them are back again. Some familiar raiders on our radar for people who've been listening to our Irish international previews. There's one in particular. One British lady has been making hay in Ireland, and she is back for another harvest here in Lisgarvan.
She absolutely is. So for anybody wondering, Lisgarvan runs the same weekend as Blair Castle International Horse Trials in the UK, which traditionally has run on the same weekend as Mill Street. So the classes that were previously at Mill Street here in Lisgarvan, and we are seeing, as we have always done with Mill Street as well, some brilliant faces, as Sam has alluded to, coming over. So let's focus on the Connolly's Red Mills 4-star short, because that is where we're seeing not only a bumper entry, there's some great numbers in the entry list, but a really international field and some fantastic combinations, some really vintage combinations, which I'm delighted by. I'm going to start, Sam, by actually asking you to introduce us to your 4-star ride, because it's a horse that you're very excited about, and he's only recently stepped up to the 4-star level. Tell us about Rocket.
Yeah, Ballyneety Rocket Man. He's one I bought as a 4-year-old. I actually bought him off the back of that 2018 World Championship suite. That's an end of season competition, and then we were into the sales season. And so unlike me, he's actually the most expensive horse I've ever bought. I keep saying to people, I've never spent more than 15,000 euros on a horse. Most of them less than 10,000. But actually, this horse breaks the mold. He was an over 20,000 euro purchase, but I think he's. I still think that's small money now. And I look back, he's very much in that Badminton Burley mode. He's a horse I'll be really looking forward to stepping up to 5-star all the gallop and jump, and it's all coming together. You know, like there's very blood always by thoroughbred, so those horses take a little bit of time to come together. The flying changes are just coming together. I hope the judges aren't listening to this, but you know, I'm sure the proof of the pudding will be in the eating of it come Thursday or Friday at Lisgarvan. But no, look, Nicole, it's always great and we're talking about a new international venue here. It's always great for us riders when we're stepping these horses up to 4-star, particularly when we think it's one for championships and 5 stars and to go on. So I'm personally really looking forward to this week and looking forward to this horse continuing his career. He was 6th in his first 4-star short. It's not bad. Sub 40 finish.
Jump double clear.
Yeah. No, it was a really respectable debut. So I'm cautious now. I used to step horses up with no expectations or pressure, and sort of be very much, oh, sure, we'll just see how we go and go through the motions and see how I feel. I felt that can be a little bit wasteful. I think if you've got a sound horse and a horse that's obviously ready, I mean, don't step them up before they're not ready. So I obviously feel this horse is ready. So I like to say that if as long as he's himself, we'll try the best to put a result out there. Sometimes you have to go to plan B. They can feel a bit green and you got to go to plan B, but fingers crossed for another successful one.
Can I ask what the terrain is like in Lisgarvan? What sort of horse does it suit for the cross country, and who designs the cross country? Actually, I don't think I know that.
It's going to be the Brady brothers, Paul and Alan. I'm not sure if it's Paul who takes sole ownership of the course designer. So he would have been the campfire course designer. Very much came up under the tutelage of Mike Etherington Smith. Clive Corrigan, event owner, landowner, organizer, and I would imagine course builder. And he does a great job too. So there's a pride in the cross country at Lisgarvan. The terrain is predominantly flat, but they do their best to use mounds, use hedges and banks and things like that, going from field to field. Really good hunting family. There's a pack of hounds there. That's their home in Lisgarvan. So good hunting family, good proud history of horses coming out of Lisgarvan and horsemen and women, and they'll build a nice course. I think Tommy Brennan actually is the late Tommy Brennan, a legend of Irish eventing, is responsible for some of those early features as well that would have been put in at Lisgarvan. So it's cool. It's always an influential, like of our national events, the cross country at Lisgarvan is always one of the most influential, just because it's built by thinking people and built by people who want that phase to count.
That's what we like to hear. I always like to kind of hear and see the natural terrain being brought into courses. We see a lot of sort of more portable fences these days. And when you use those natural obstacles that have sort of been the essence of cross country for so long, I always especially enjoy it. Right. Prediction Centre favourite. Who is out in front? Well, actually, it is one man in the top two positions on the Prediction Centre. Only 2% separates his two rides at 21% and 19%. So it is a 40% win chance for Japan's Kazuma Tomoto. Vinci de Levine, the favourite. Brook Park Vicenti, second favourite for him. Both horses actually came over to Mill Street back at the beginning of June. Brook Park Vicenti actually finished second in the 3-star long format, which was the Olympic qualifier, in which Japan didn't qualify. Vinci de Levine was fourth in the Nations Cup there. Vinci de Levine, I mean, has been a brilliant horse. Top 10 in Protoni last year. Numerous good placings at the 4-star level. Fourth, of course, in Tokyo at the Olympic Games. Would he be your favourite on paper here as well, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, that you mentioned the big one there at the end. This is a Japanese rider who finished fourth. Okay, the worst place to finish at Olympic Games, because you are the best of the rest, the highest placed non-medal winning person. Fortunately, no hardware to take home for the home favorite in Japan. But how cool is that? A fourth place at an Olympic Games, as you say, a top 10 in the World Championships to back it up. Yeah, the Japanese rider comes here to Lisgarvan and is the clearest favourite, rightly so. But this is a global talent. This is someone of the highest caliber. And that's the way you got to hold Kazumo now. I mean, I've always admired this guy as a rider. He goes from being exceptionally polished in the dressage and jumping phases to extremely natural and efficient in the cross country. Very few times or moments when I've looked at Kazu and seen him in the wrong place at the wrong time or anything like that. Like, this is a real tidy rider. He's a world-class rider and absolutely deserves to be favourite. Yeah, between his Olympic horse, Vinci de Levine, 21%, and then Brook Park Vicenti, who's a horse that started his life here in Ireland, coming back to the home turf, 19%. That's a 40% win chance for Kazu across his two horses. So every chance we're going to hear the Japanese national anthem playing in Ballin, County Carlow this weekend.
It was interesting, actually, because he's also been doing a huge amount of jumping And I think he's got a jumper that's based with the Charles family. And I think there could well be a campaign for another Olympic spot, maybe in the pure jumping side of things as well, which is really exciting. But actually just goes to show what a well-rounded horseman he is as well. Okay, so I have been digging through the Olympic qualification because Japan haven't qualified a team. Okay, so how can they get athletes, listeners? I hear you ask. Basically,
she has what looks, you might have been able to hear the, she has what looks like some kind of A4 booklet. I mean, there seems to be a lot of paperwork in our hands. So here we go, folks. Let's get into the classroom with Nicole Brown. Tell us, Nicole, how do Japan get to the Olympics?
Okay, I mean, I printed off the rules. I'm not going to lie. So there are, for teams that haven't qualified through their Olympic qualifier or the World Championships or the European Championships, 14 individual spots on offer. And how that works is the 2 highest ranked athletes in the FEI Olympic ranking from each of the 7 groups will qualify 1 individual quota place each for their National Olympic Committee. So this is really important. So basically in Group G, which is Southeast Asia and Oceania, which is the group that Japan are in, they can qualify 2 individual slots. Interestingly, they actually hold a good number of the top places. I looked it up. I can go and tell you exactly how many it is actually, because Kazu actually leads with Vinci de Levine, 61 points for him so far. Ryozu Kidajima and Furosa Numod at 58 points. Toshiyuki Tanaka then has 2, and Yoshiaki Iowa then has 2, and then Toshi again. So because Australia have already qualified, because New Zealand have already qualified, they're not featuring in this ranking list. So actually, Japan, really, barring disaster, will qualify 2 individuals for the Games. Now, this is the interesting bit. It doesn't have to be the individuals who earn the qualification that are then selected. I mean, surely it would help their selection chances, but they could send another individual combination completely. And it is also a horse and rider combination that earn points together. So Vinci de Levine currently leads those rankings and would extend ranking points here as well. So just one to look out for. Japan, highly likely to have 2 individual spots at the Olympic Games. The battle is very much on for selection. That's going to be key. Okay, so now we've got that done and dusted. Let's talk about the lady that actually you alluded to a little bit earlier on, Kirsty Chabert, classic, who has, I think, on her last 4 runs on Irish soil, never finished outside of the top 2. They've become, I imagine, the sight of dread for many Irish combinations when they see Kirsty's lorry roll into the lorry park over in Ireland, because she's not afraid of a trip overseas. And actually, she normally pretty much cleans up when she does come.
Yeah, this is a horse who's been to Kentucky, been to Aachen, selected for Team GP. I think, yeah, like Kirsty is in an era of incredible British strength, and obviously in our European preview we talked about just how difficult it is to get into that British team, and for good reason, because they really were superstars, and they are your European gold medalists. She's been knocking on the door. Now, Classic has potentially, I mean, if we talked about her in racing terms, you know, you'd probably talk about her being an unbeatable grade 2 horse, but maybe not a group 1 horse. I don't know if that's fair. You know, I don't think that applies in the sport of eventing. There is just a little quirk in there. You know, the one that stands out for me is actually further. I think it was the Aachen in COVID times. I think it was Aachen 2021. I think she was leading, and there was just a glance off a corner. So whether that cross-country reliability is 100% there is the question mark. And the start isn't always low enough either. Now, Lisgarvan could suit. There's a little bit of juice in the ground at the moment. It's a good forecast. There's going to be a lot of Weather Watch Echo Ratings podcast listeners. You know, we've got Burley coming up as well. So it's going to be a lot. I am looking at weather forecasts about 3
Sam
times.
is doing a rain dance, listeners. And I have said
both horses, for Lisgarvan and for Burley. I am praying the heavens open. The heavens open. So, but that would play into Classic's hands until the point that the cross country get very tough and taxing. The only thing I would say is, you know, I wouldn't put it past Lisgarvan to present potentially a trickier course than some of the sort of Kililkeys and Sometimes even the Mill Streets. Mill Street Bills are beautiful, very impressive, well presented course, but Mikey S always builds very fairly. Fence is very readable. They're very horse friendly courses. Like, I love to set a horse up at Mill Street. I think there's the potential, and I really hope it is. I think there's the potential that Lisgarvan is actually, people come out of there going, God, that was a proper course, a proper 4-star course. That's my hope for it. And in that case, classic, you don't bet your house. And I think if she performs, she puts huge pressure on Kazuma Tomoto with regards to time penalties. I think she puts huge pressure on probably Alex Watien, the next very international and global combination that I'd be going for. I think she puts pressure on them, and it'll be a question as to whether they come back to her, because I think they'll probably start ahead of Kirsty in Classic.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. Alex and Jilson van Brielhoff actually led the dressage at Heartbreak a couple of weeks ago. He's got Mombeg, Just Blue, and Poseidon's Admiral in the field as well. If you're wondering where that horse came from, Cooley Admiral was the horse's former name, was campaigned by Amy O'Connor, which threw me because I was like, where's this horse that Alex has just popped up on at 4-star level? I looked it up. Laura Collett has a couple of really interesting rides. One in Kalahari, who she is deputising for Eva Clark, who's on the injury list. And actually she has Fetige de Rouge in the 3-star long format, who is definitely one to look out for there. But interesting return of Hester, because 15% win chance, so it's actually third favourite on the prediction centre. However, the bit that I'm just throwing out there into the universe, so Hester has had some time off, and before her time off was scoring sort of mid-30s in the dressage at 4-star level, and at 3-star level, to be fair. Missed sort of just over a season, ran at Houghton in the 4-star in 2022. To be fair, did get a sub-30 there, and then came back out at Aston Lewalls in a 3-star at the beginning of July and won by FODing, finishing on her dressage score of 21.1. What will she do stepping back up to 4-star level? What kind of magic wand has Laura waved over the last 12 months? Will we see it transform and translate into the 4-star competition? I'm very much interested to find out.
That's a really good insight. And it's an interesting one. It's what top riders can do, particularly to event horses. That the dressage is like you're like building a gymnast, and it's so much to do with muscle, and muscle is something that you build and develop. And then obviously the suppleness, the trainability. Laura has clearly turned that mare inside out. As you say, what will she do?
She was ridden by Janelle Price to start with, went to Le Lion as a 6-year-old with Janelle, then was campaigned by Alex Bragg, missed 2020, came back in 2021 with Laura. So, watch this space. Okay. Watch this space.
Very interesting one. And then with Kalahari as well, stepping in there for Aoife. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Listeners, I know a lot of you will be fellow Irish people listening to this and hopefully coming down. Please do come down and support the Corrigan family and support Lisgarvan and see our new international. But exactly, even though Laura Collett's in the saddle at Kalahari, this is an interesting one from an Irish point of view to be keeping an eye on. Again, I expect to be right up there after 2 phases. And then tactics is, I think bar Kirsty, who we know has come here for one reason only, and that is to win. Tactics are going to be interesting with the others. The Japanese riders.
I reckon Kazu's come over to win.
Do you think so? I mean, because it's a different dynamic now. Like, they kind of have to fight for their place and everything. But I still think I think they have 2 spots. I think I agree with you on that. I think Japan have 2 places sewn up, but they will be individual slots. It's not that different to how it used to be. Compared to like London, when there was 5 in a team, and then you might get 2 individuals if you didn't have a team qualified. Like, now it's only 3 per team and 2 individuals. But I mean, obviously the hammer blow is that you don't have a shot at a team medal. He's got to be in the driving seat. I mean, 4th at the Tokyo Olympic Games. I mean, Kazu's got to feel like he's in the driving seat.
Who else?
What to lose?
Who else, Sam, should we be looking out for? I'm just going to jump in, actually, because I just spotted them and I love this horse. Sarah Ennis came over with a truckload of horses to Bergam. Basically, every horse that came out I fell a little bit in love with. Action Lady M just looks like a really cool, feisty little cross-country horse. And I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing them.
I enjoy them, and I do think we mentioned him briefly, Gilson van Barlof for Alex Watien. This is a horse who could easily lead, has withdrawn with good 20s dressage, as you say, led Hartbury, but withdrew, but with a brilliant dressage and a clear show jumping. Has done that a couple of times. I don't know what the reason is, but I don't think you've come to Ireland to do 2 phases and withdraw. I think you've come to run. And in the last, I think 5 internationals he's run, I think he's won 3 of them. A couple of those sort of Montelibretti and places like that, but those internationals take winning. Interesting to see that. But I love that this will shape up to be an interesting competition, because I think the Alex Watien horses and potentially the Laura Collett horses, they might add time penalties on cross country. I actually think the sport's in a really exciting place now, because I think those climbers, a la Classic, for Kirsty Chabert, I think he can pass people. Like, remember Mill Street 4-star short? I think Sarah Ennis was one of the fastest of the day, but no one got within 10 seconds of the time. I don't think we could see that around here. Like, Lisgarvan's a flat track, but it's a twisty track, and you go from field to field. And I think that always slows you down a bit. That sounds like an obvious statement, but what I mean is there's a lot of hedge line crossings and stuff like that where you're never going full speed when you're going through hedge lines and stuff like that. Horses back off a little bit, and there's an air of caution. So, but my climber, and the horse that fits the profile for me, comes quite low down in the prediction centre for a horse with his history. It's Joseph Murphy and Baracello, and I would pick out some home international form. They actually beat me. I was second to them in Ballindenniskin and advanced quite recently, and I think that was their first kind of higher level event together. And Joseph said the horse just felt so at ease on cross country and had a huge gear, and I think there's a horse that will only climb, and I think they'll start well enough now. Baracello's dressage, he's been competitive in the past. Another horse previously campaigned by Alex Bragg and then Cathal Daniels, and Baracello, I think, for the home team could be one of the most likely of the Irish to go all the way here.
I think that's a great shout, to be honest. I was just going to pick up Marcio George has 3 in the 4-star. Castle Howard Casanova is absolutely stunning. If you're going, take a look at him because he's lovely. He was second in a 4-star long in Sopot back in, can't even figure out the months of the year, listeners, back in May. 5 is May. Finished on his dressage score there and, looked really, really smart, has been top 20 at Blenheim in the 8-9-year-old class previously. The Brazilians, of course, are building up to a Pan American Games tilt, and it'll be very interesting to see which horses are selected there. So could very much be on the radar, I'm sure, of the team Brazilian coaches coming in this weekend. So, Sam, who wins? Lisgarvan this weekend. Who's on the top spot of the podium?
I'm going for a shake-up. I mean, I do like the Irish. I really do. I think Lisgarvan actually can be a track that can, maybe being familiar with it could play to an advantage. Claire Abbott did really well here at the national championships last year. She rides Mr. Mighty. I like her chances, but I'm going to, and Sarah Ennis as well with the form she's in, the round she had, folks. Sarah Ennis as first out for the Irish team at the Europeans and Hard to Pan. What a welcome she's going to deserve, and Joseph as well for the role he played in the team as well. They're brilliant. The Susie as well, 4th place for the Irish, so close to a medal actually. Brilliant performance. So Sarah's there in Action Lady M, but I'm going to stick with Joseph Murphy and Baracello. I'm going to give this one to the Irish. There's plenty around them, but let's keep it on home soil, folks.
I have to admit, I think there is going to be a Japanese national anthem playing out this weekend. Watch this space for Kazuma Tomoto. And of the 2, I'm going to say Vinci de Levine is my favourite. Sam, a pleasure as always having you back on the show. Big week coming up for you. Just a word on building up to Burghley. We're going to get you on the preview show as well. But how's everything going?
Yeah, everything's going well. Big workout this morning on the Ballywaldra Hills. I can tell you that normally peak the horses about 2 weeks before a big one. But Talisman being Talisman, we went with 10 days because it actually is an advantage to have him not fully. He doesn't need as much of a kind of cooling off period to sort of get fresh. Too much freshness in the Talisman fuel gauge is not a useful thing.
Going for a gallop on dressage morning.
Yeah, but there was a workout done here this morning on the hills that it only gets done. It was 11 years ago was the last time it was done. It is the Burley workout. It's a course like no other. It really does test the heart and lungs like no other track. But I can tell you that the heart and lungs are in A1 condition. So you're definitely walking back into the yard on him this morning. Was cool. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be building up to these internationals. Rocket this week, Talisman next week. It's a great time. We're getting into that busy autumn period. I mean, I know the Equi Ratings office is going to be busy. We've Blenheims to follow and many internationals after that. But it's a good time of year.
It definitely is. Look, Sam, keeping everything crossed that all goes to plan over the next 10 days or so. And we can't wait to have you over here on British Soil. I know the podcast listeners are particularly very excited. Now, listeners, this show isn't done because we are going to dive in to the second half of the show where we have got a very special guest giving us his thoughts on a brilliant Lisgarvan as well. And I'm going to dive straight into saying a very big hello to Ian Cassells. Ian, it is brilliant to have you back on the show. Before we dive in to talk about all things Lisgarvan, I just actually wanted to catch up post Haradapan because it was your senior European Championship debut a couple of weeks ago. And while it didn't quite finish the way dreams are made of, I just wanted to reflect on actually what your first championship experience was like. Looking back now, has it all sunk in? And what was that sort of overwhelming emotion heading into Harad?
Hi, Nicole. Thanks so much for having me back on. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, even though it didn't go to plan. I kind of had a bit of pressure on myself all year that was the goal. I tried to get there, got there, and I had the Master Point horses reserve as well. So it was amazing to even achievement alone, just to be there and be selected and everything through the season I've had. Even though it didn't go to plan, it was great exposure. My first senior championship, so much experience just working in that kind of frame and team atmosphere, and just being at a senior championship alone.
Has it ignited the fire even more?
Definitely. I think it's opened my eyes up even how much more homework has to be done and just work even harder now again. And I have some lovely horses coming up for next year. So hopefully that would be a bit of exposure for me and the horses I have at home. So yeah, I think it would be really exciting to see what's to come.
And in terms of the next week or so, obviously the eventing train absolutely rolls on, and it is another big international on Irish soil in Lisgarvan. We'll talk about your horses in a second, but we spoke a little bit earlier on at the start of the show, listeners, about what it means to Ireland to have Lisgarvan stepping up as an international venue. Ian, put it into words from your perspective as how important it is for events to actually make the jump up and put themselves forward for these kinds of opportunities.
Yes, I think it's an amazing opportunity for the Corrigans to have the first international with such an exciting field as well from home and abroad. I'm really happy for them. And Paul and Alan Brady are actually owners of mine. They used to have Campire, and I know they are course builders for Campire, and I know they have put their heart and soul into Lisgarvan as well. And I just hope the weather and everything plays off with them and just have a bit of luck now, and hopefully things will go really well for them.
It's very exciting that actually riders have been kind of voting with their feet as well in coming over from the UK, but really having a very international field. We've got some very strong Japanese combinations, British combinations, Dutch combinations as well. As you know, we've just talked about hurrah. How important is it for you, that feeling of actually being able to put yourselves up against that level of competition on home soil at a not a normal one day, but a big event in Ireland that actually gets some real international exposure as well?
I think it's not till you're actually competing against the best in the world that you actually realize of where you are and what you have to still do, and all the training that is involved. So I think it's so important to just keep working and not compare yourself too much, but just to take the hint. And once you see yourself beside these people, it can be so good, you know. I think like Lisgarvan is going to have a really good cross country track, and I think like hopefully the Irish riders will be able to flourish, and hopefully it'll be a great show.
And tell us a little bit about the couple of horses, first of all, that you've got in the Connolly's Red Mills 4-star this weekend.
I have 2 horses in the 4-star, a 9-year-old Shambo Superflex and a 10-year-old Master Point. They're both exciting young horses. They've stepped up to 4-star this year. The Shambo Superflex has done Ballindennis and Mill Street at the start of the year and was double clear in Ballindennis. She's a little bit sharp mare, but like the heart of a lion. She nearly fell in Mill Street and head underwater and literally one stride up to a skinny, and she has so much game to just keep going and fight for you. So I think she's a really exciting horse for the future. She's going to head to Blenheim afterwards and hopefully to Buccleuch, with the aim to qualify her for the Olympics in the furlong. The Master Point horse was reserved for Harass, so it's exciting to have him back out. He is going to use Lisgarvan as a prep run to do the furlong in Blenheim as well, and that'll hopefully leave him off nicely for the end of the year.
Exciting. They both look really, really smart horses coming up the levels. They've both won internationally at the 3-star level and have made great steps up to 4-star. What other horses have you got this weekend? It's very rare that your lorry is not jam-packed, Ian.
Yeah, I have 5 entries for the event. I also have the Kelly's Quality horse in the 3-star. He picked up a little injury last year and he's coming back and just having his 3-star as his first run back. He'll be a little bit ring rusty, but he can do a very good test and he's a good jumper. So hopefully he should be competitive, but he'll probably run slow enough, just being his first run back. He's also going to aim for Ballindennis and Buccleuch 4-star. He could be a very exciting horse for next year. I also have 2 horses in the 6 and 7-year-old class, a 6-year-old Green Oak GG and a 7-year-old Gorsehill Mare Club. So hopefully they'll be young horses, and I'm sure there'll be nice educational courses, and hopefully we'll have a bit of luck for the week.
That's what we like to hear. And what about the rest of the season? Obviously, a number of horses coming over for Blenheim. So I presume the first Shambo Superflex will come over for the 8 and 9-year-old class. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan for her. And then I also have the 9-year-old Millridge Atlantis. He's actually going to do the furlong in Blenheim with the Master Point horse, I think. It'll be a nice big gallopy horse for the 2 of them, and it'll be really a good test for them to shape them up for next year, I think. I also have a few younger ones that will do maybe their first 4-star in Ballindennis and then head to Buccleuch for the Nations Cup. And then I have 1 or 2 6 and 7-year-olds for Leon at the end of the year. So there's a few exciting shows for the end of the year and a few miles that need to be put up.
Well, exciting times, because that is going to leave quite a string at the top level, and hopefully Ian, by the time we get to the end of October, there'll be a good number that have got the Paris qualification box ticked, and that is one less thing to think about. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about Lisgarvan, and looking forward to the rest of the season as well. It's been a pleasure to have you on as always, and thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Nicole.
So there you have it, listeners. The Lisgarvan preview show, very kindly brought to you by our friends at Connolly's Red Mills, who are, among others, massive supporters of the first international in Lisgarvan, and huge credit has to go to the Corrigan family and the entire team effort that it takes to put on an event such as this. They are well versed in putting on great events. They've had the Eventing Ireland National Championships in the past as well, but a big international of this level is huge commitment, and massive credit to them all for doing so, and we're very grateful to them all as well. It takes, as we know, for any event, an entire army of volunteers, not only in the build-up but also to make the event happen when it runs, and we're very grateful to all of them. They've also got some really fun prizes at Lisgarvan throughout the weekend. Carday and Martin have been very generous. They have not only got the Gallop shampoo bar down in the stables, which sounds absolutely brilliant, listeners, but every groom that is connected to one of the winning horses gets a Carday and Martin goodie bag. They are also supporting the best turned out at the Trot Up, and Nikki Roncaroni, actually from Castle Kelly Sport Horses, is offering up a prize for the winning groom in the long format competitions. It's just an enormous team effort with lots of great companies and great sponsors and great supporters of our sport coming together to be able to make the event brilliant. And we're very grateful to them. It's so exciting for Irish eventing. And we're looking forward to a brilliant weekend of sport. If you're going to Lisgarvan, I believe they are having a welcome drinks party Thursday, 8:00. Be there or be square. You won't want to miss it. Everybody is welcome. And if you're not going, then of course we will be back with a review show next week and relive all of the excitement as well. It is going to be a brilliant week. A massive thank you to you guys for tuning in. A big thank you to both Ian and Sam as well for their insight. Bring on the first international at Lisgarvan. May it be the first of many very successful ones.